then that actually means you're just racist and you don't know it. If you say, I'm not racist, that means you are racist. If you say all lives matter, that somehow means that you believe that black lives don't matter. If you capitalize the W in white or fail to capitalize the B in black, you're racist. And there is no greater damnation in modern America than to be labeled racist.
A lot of what he's saying has some truth to it.
Then that actually means you're just racist and you don't know it. If you say, I'm not racist, that means you are racist. If you say all lives matter, that somehow means that you believe that black lives don't matter. If you capitalize the W in white or fail to capitalize the B in black, you're racist. And there is no greater damnation in modern America than to be labeled a racist. So between pledging fealty to this new religion and being tarred with the scarlet R, everyday Americans are choosing to bend the knee. The consequences may be existential for America. This has created a new culture of fear in our country. Fear of losing your job, fear of failing a class at school, fear of becoming a pariah in your own community. And almost every day, somebody new is sacrificed at the altar and excommunicated from civil society for saying the wrong thing. This new culture of fear has completely eroded our culture of free speech in America.
Wow, that is deep. Let me know if y'all agree with this. If you think America right now has a culture of fear within it. I personally don't think America has a culture of fear within it. However, I will say there are probably people out there who are scared to say what they want. And I do realize sometimes on these social media platforms or online platforms, you can't really say what you want. And a lot of what he's saying has some truth to it. But let me know what y'all think. Has this affected your life?
A good measure of the health of any democracy, especially American democracy, is the percentage of people who actually feel free to say what they actually think in public. And right now, I am sorry to say that we are doing abysmally on that metric. According to a recent survey conducted by the Cato Institute, over 60% of Americans, an overwhelming majority of this country, says they are afraid of saying what they believe because of the current political climate. That is not America. It is not the country that my parents came halfway across the world to join. It is not the country I learned to pledge allegiance to as a kid. We have a new red guard in our country that's reminiscent of the Chinese Cultural Revolution, except instead of adhering to Marxism, the new guiding principle for today's red guard is this new form of Wokism. So that's where we are today. In the name of diversity, we've sacrificed true diversity of thought. In the name of democracy, we've sacrificed our most important democratic norms of free speech and open debate. In the name of inclusion, we've created an exclusionary culture where certain views are just not welcome. So how did we get here? How did this new wokeism become so dominant in our country?
This is a lot, man. So talking about diversion and inclusion, because I've heard that a lot. Diversion, inclusion, and equity. Those are it's like DEI or DI. It's something like that, man. I think it's coming from a good place, but the way it's enacted within society is completely wrong. And what do you mean is wrong? What do you mean is wrong? Because when you put an emphasis on diversity, inclusion, and equity, you're kind of saying that the way you look is our biggest factor. How you look, where are you from, how do you speak? That's what we want. We don't necessarily care what's inside of your head. We care about how you look, and that's what it is. Like your name, how you look, what the hairstyle you have. But when it comes to the quality of knowledge you have or how you think, they don't really consider that because that's not considered diversity. That's not considered inclusion. If you think differently than other people, that's not considered inclusion. What's inclusion or diversity is your skin color. So when you're or your gender. So when you're so attached to that belief and you're willing to do anything to have that belief, that's not good, because it's not helping people. It's literally racism. Like when you say, okay, your race can do it, but that's the dictionary definition of racism. So diversity, equity, and inclusion, it could be a good thing if it was a diversity of thoughts or diversity of, I guess, just thoughts, really. But it's a diversity of skin color, just that, and that can be a little tricky.
The story goes back to the 1990s. a new discipline emerged in American academia. It was called critical race theory. It posited that race and other inherited characteristics created these invisible power structures that actually govern our real social relationships. In the 1890s, Karl Marx had posited that the invisible power relationships were based on economic disempowerment. But critical race theory changed that narrative. By the 1990s, critical race theory posited that the real culprit was invisible racial disempowerment. That's when Wokism was born. Now, to be clear, in the 90s, Wokism used to be about challenging the system. And there's something about that which I respect, even if I disagree with it. But today, Wokism is not about challenging the system. Wokism is the system. So how did this fringe intellectual theory from unknown academics in the 1990s manage to infect our most important social institutions today? That is the question. And in my opinion, the answer actually begins with the 2008 financial crisis.
What?
Immediately after the '08 crisis, you'll remember, corporations were the bad guys. The old left used to say that corporate power was bad, and the thing we needed to do was redistribute money from rich people to help poor people. Agree or not, that was the theory. But the new modern woke left in the post-2008 world had a different theory. They said that the real problem wasn't poverty, it wasn't economic injustice, rather it was racial injustice and misogyny and bigotry. And guess what? That presented a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Wall Street. They could no longer be the bad guys, but instead could actually become the good guys just by adopting these woke values.
Bro, I had no idea any of that happened. I had no idea any of that happened. In 2008, I was literally in kindergarten. probably first grade. So when he's bringing up all these ideals, it low-key makes a lot of sense because these wokeism is pushed a lot, I guess, by a lot of corporations. I never really questioned why until I started to, I guess, watch these type of videos. But now that I'm thinking about it, why is it pushed? Because let's talk about it. I'm a college student. Let's talk about critical race theory and the way it's taught in schools. Critical race theory is basically this idea that there's an underlying racism within almost everything that we do. But the problem with teaching that is, when does it begin to be solved? What does that mean? When are we going to get to the level where there isn't an underlying racism? Because if you're teaching an ideal that there's always an underlying racism, there is no improvement. There's no way to become better, because deep down, this ideal says there will always be it, no matter what. So how is that beneficial towards the youth or society? It's not. This is why there's such a problem with this. So when you talk about wokeism and its combination into critical race theory, that's why there's a problem. It seems like it will never get better. It seems like no matter what happens, no matter how much progress we make, society will always just be stuck in a loop of racism. And I don't agree with that.
Now remember Occupy Wall Street. That was after 2008. That was a tough pill for Wall Street to swallow. But this wokeism stuff, that was easy. Applaud diversity and inclusion, put some women on boards, create an affinity group for analysts of color. You're good to go. Just look at what Goldman Sachs did last year when its CEO declared from, of course, the mountaintops of Davos that Goldman would not take a company public in the United States unless it met Goldman Sachs' standards for board diversity, where, of course, Goldman's the sole arbiter of who counts as diverse. The banks were thrilled to dance to this new woke tune. They were happy to lend both their money and their legitimacy and their credibility to this new woke movement. But they only need one thing in return, just one ask in return. Woke left, get the new left to leave Wall Street alone.
And while all this is happening, guess what's going with the interest rates? Interest rates are through the roof. Car prices are through the roof. Home prices are through the roof. Salaries are actually going down. But meanwhile, we're debating wokeism. We're debating diversity, equity, inclusion. We're doing all this stuff. We're pushing it. We're pushing it. We're pushing it. Meanwhile, the quality of people's lives are literally getting worse, while companies are making record-breaking profits. I'm not trying to fearmonger. That's not my goal here. That's never been my goal. I'm just letting y'all know the truth of what's happening in society. So if you're the one to where you're out here saying, "Oh yeah, let's do this," you're getting taken advantage of. You have to open your eyes and look what's really happening.
And it worked. Each side won from the trade. Big banks got to use their market power to force these woke values down our throats. And in return, the new left agrees to look the other way when it comes to leaving their market power intact. So in a nutshell, here's how it worked. Wall Street got in bed with a bunch of woke millennials. Together, they birthed woke capitalism. And of course, they put Occupy Wall Street up for adoption. You don't even know what that is anymore. That's the Wall Street interest.
I don't. I never heard that.
As it turns out, there's a really similar backroom deal playing out in the other coast, in Silicon Valley as well. And here's the way it works over there. Woke activists demand that big tech censors political views that they don't like. And in return, the left agrees to leave big tech's monopoly power intact. And again, it is working masterfully for both sides. That is how this new arranged marriage works. This is not a marriage of love. This is more like mutual prostitution, and it is working. And the net result is the rise of America's newest Leviathan, the woke industrial complex. It is no longer just Wall Street. It is no longer just Silicon Valley. It is the entirety of corporate America as we know it. It's Coca-Cola training its employees on, quote unquote, how to be less white.
What? How to be less white? That is crazy. I've never heard of that before. Deep down, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Deep down, I'm hoping companies aren't this malicious with their intent. I really do hope so. Like, deep down, I'm that's probably like a childlike belief. I'm like, I really hope this is not the case. But, like, as I watch these videos, I'm like, what if it is? And that what if is kind of scary. Like, I really, 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 really hope it is not the case. Like, I really hope it's not. But what if it actually is? What if everything he's saying is true? That is a scary reality to go into, man. I am not going to lie to y'all. That is scary.
And issuing public statements about voting laws that make it sound more like a super PAC than a soft drink manufacturer. It's United Airlines saying that it's going to apply a quota system based on race and gender to the pilots who were in the cockpit, even if that means throwing out pilot tests as a part of the process.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
Major League Baseball deciding to move this year's All-Star game out of Atlanta. It is Nike donating tens of millions of dollars to Black Lives Matter, a Marxist movement that professes to care about black lives, while it also calls for the decimation of the nuclear family structure. While, by the way, Nike, of course, continues to market $200 sneakers to black kids in the inner city who can't afford to buy books for school. Go figure.
Yeah,
Liberals accept it because they love woke causes. Old school Republicans look the other way because their inner conscience tells them that the free market can do no wrong, without realizing that the so-called free market that they idealize doesn't actually exist today. So both sides are ultimately blinded to the rise of this new 21st century monster that is far more insidious and far more powerful than anything we have seen in the history of our country. Now, I would love to tell you that it doesn't get any worse than that, but it does. It does
Oh
get
my
worse.
goodness.
There's a new guest who's shown up on the scene and turned this unholy alliance into a threesome. That's the Communist Party of China. They understand this game more deeply than any of us. There is even a Chinese word for wokeness. Baizuo is the word.
What?
It literally refers to woke white people in the United States, and they use it to laugh at us. And even worse, they're using Wokism as a geopolitical tool to erode our standing on the global stage. And if you have any doubt about that, just look at what they're saying. Last year, when European Union leaders pressed Xi Jinping about China's human rights violations, including locking up over 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps, who, by the way, Apple uses as slave labor to make their iPhones. I bet they don't tell you that. His first response was that Black Lives Matter shows that the United States is no better.
Oh my goodness. This is scary, bro. This is very scary. This is extremely scary. I wasn't ready for this, I'm not gonna lie.
Last month, when China's top diplomat came right here to the Alaska summit, in his opening remarks, he falsely asserts that the United States is slaughtering, that is his word, slaughtering black Americans, and that he hopes the United States does better on human rights. That would be laughable if it didn't have such serious consequences. They know that our greatest geopolitical advantage is not our nuclear arsenal. It is our moral standing. But now they're using American capitalism as a weapon to accomplish their own goals by using woke corporations to undermine the United States from within. Take Disney. Just a couple of years ago, said it couldn't film in Georgia, in the state of Georgia, if they passed a new anti-abortion statute. Yet they just filmed Mulan last year in the Xinjiang province of China, which is literally ground zero, the epicenter of the Uyghur human rights crisis.
Bro, everything he's saying is true. Jesus. It's crazy how there's this much of a divide within America. All of a sudden, like growing up when I was in high school and stuff, or middle school, this wasn't a thing. Or even younger, this wasn't a thing. Like it's like it's a huge divide no matter what you look at. You're not even going to film in certain states. If some people say certain things, you get fired, you get canceled or whatever. I don't know the exact phrase. It's just a divide everywhere, man. Everywhere you look, I don't know, man.
And they didn't just film there. They went further. They said, we thank the local government. They thanked the CCP for allowing them to film there. That's Disney. The NBA, it's even worse. The NBA regularly decries alleged racial injustice here in the United States, yet it does not say a peep as they continue to expand into the Chinese market. It gets worse than that. When Daryl Morey, the general manager of the Houston Rockets, once tweeted, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong," LeBron James, one of the most outspoken critics of the last president, one of the most outspoken supporters of Black Lives Matter, just last week, tweeting a picture of a cop in Columbus, Ohio, and saying, hold him accountable. He's the guy who immediately came, of course, to China's public defense.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge LeBron James fan. I'm a huge LeBron James fan. So this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt any of you.
This two-faced behavior of corporations and their celebrity cronies is not just an accident. It is by design. The CCP is playing us like a Chinese mandolin, and it's working, and they're doing it by using our own companies against us. And why are these companies doing it? The answer is plain and simple. Money.
Money is the root of all evil, man. Let me know what y'all think about this. I really hope none of this is true. I really do. I hope it's all speculative. Anyways, LFR Jojo, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what y'all think. And I'll see you in the next video.